Hello friends. Important news from Poland. Radical blue shirts have appeared on the streets of Lublin, checking foreigners, while the Kielce police are pompously deporting illegal immigrants. Right-wing parties are spreading fake news, and former officials are fighting imaginary threats for ratings. Let's examine how the migration crisis is exploited in political games. Please give a like and subscribe to the channel. Friends, huge thanks to everyone who doesn't mind. Simple actions take just 2 seconds. A like to support aerodynamics. Yes, write in the comments, why isn't the bald guy at the front, or why isn't the bald guy at the sea? That's it. Well, let's get down to business. Part 1. The blue shirts are out on the streets. The comrades are testing the authorities' strength. Let's start with some rather alarming symptoms that are unfolding directly in the Polish public space. The city of Lublin. You can mention your city and the current temperature. It's still 33 degrees here. In Lublin, openly anti-Ukrainian and anti-migrant patrols have appeared on the city streets. The picture is shaping up strictly in the spirit of the European interwar crisis of the last century. People in dark blue uniforms are marching through the streets, and their outfits are so similar that they look almost like real police uniforms. They really do look similar. These characters are directly connected to the radical movement Radacy of the Chikamrachi family, fellow countrymen, friends, so to speak, if we translate it into Russian. This environment is openly described by mainstream Polish experts and independent journalists as far-right, neo-fascist, and marginal. There was an instant uproar on social media. Eyewitnesses are posting reports that these groups, wearing the armbands of the Narodowi Straż Kamradzka, are doing, what do you think, helping old ladies cross the street? No, they're hunting down foreigners. They selectively approach pedestrians in Lublin, targeting those who appear to be visitors, especially Ukrainian citizens, for illegal questioning and checks. A well-known Polish journalist from Radio Nowy Świat comments on this parade of stormtroopers. She made a bitter joke on her social media. We're drifting toward the 1930s, if you know what I mean. Of course, we do not agree with this. She's just a journalist without much political education and doesn't understand the situation. Well, the taxi driver I ride with says the allusion to Weimar Germany and the SA squads of that time is more than obvious. And how does the Polish rule of law respond, you might ask? The Polish Ministry of Internal Affairs produced a masterpiece of acrobatics. They stated that, yes, this is a legal gathering of citizens, and the patrol participants themselves allegedly did not perform any actions that fall under exclusive police duties. In other words, nothing happened, you just imagined it. Why are you making things up? So, as long as you're just being psychologically pressured by a crowd in uniforms, some guys in the square, from the point of view of Polish law, all of this is within the law. Naturally, a wave of harsh criticism erupted in the information space. Of course, there is also a wave of strong support, but there is criticism as well. Society openly discusses the state's paralysis and inaction, which allow small groups to test the limits of what is permitted without consequences. And what if they decide that you committed some kind of crime? Do they have the right to, what, put you somewhere, throw you into a pit, or what? And this isn't the first time it's happened. They already tested this technology in Warsaw because a couple of weeks ago, similar patrols from the Bronem movement and the Polish border were at Warsaw Central. We talked about this. Men in camouflage patrol the platforms, openly hassling people, especially foreigners and those with dark skin like me, right? The Warsaw police only bothered to collect evidence and send something to the prosecutor's office after a huge scandal in the press, and it's unclear how this story will end. All these patriotic patrols really remind this taxi driver I ride with of the classic tactic of hybrid stress testing infrastructure. Unofficial, supposedly self-organized groups without clear legal responsibility are launched into the public space to see what the authorities will do, whether they will do something or not, and how far they will be allowed to go. A true test of the state's resilience. If the state continues to shyly turn a blind eye to the manifestations of various alternative power structures that imitate the police and create an atmosphere of fear, then the outcome for this system will be very interesting. Well, that's how it is, friends. Write in the comments what you think about all this that's happening. Of course, I support everything, absolutely. Karl Nawrocki is the best. Next, yes, mention in the comments that Comrade Major is behind me. Yes, he flew in especially to visit me. Alright, next, we have part 2, Linguistic Detective. Who are the shadow catchers, and why are they in quotation marks? Because it seems like just a regular, simple deportation, Świętokrzyskie voivodeship. But now, yes, we've just received some fresh news. Because the shadow catchers have detained. I'll explain who they are in a moment, friends. These people have been detained by them. A 29-year-old citizen of Ukraine who will be deported. The guy, yes, according to the press, was staying in the country illegally. He had previously been prosecuted for some offenses. He was bravely apprehended in Kielce, and it was these shadow catchers who did it. Then they handed him over to the border guard. The border guard will process his deportation, get out of Poland, for professional purposes. Here. But look at what is meant in context. Having lived in Poland for 11 years, I understand a little. Shadow catchers. What is this anyway, and why is it written in quotation marks? Because in Polish media and police slang, shadow catcher is an unofficial but established name for elite special police units. So it's not clear what it is. That's it. They're already sending special forces to deport these Ukrainians. This is the Central Investigation Bureau. They are responsible for tracking down the most dangerous criminals in hiding who have been hiding for years. So, well, it's like a special group for catching high-profile fugitives. Chen Yu is called the shadow of the criminal because he leaves no traces, lives under false names, literally turning into a phantom. Accordingly, those who track him down are metaphorically called shadow catchers. Well, it's kind of unclear, right? Because either now all the special forces will actually be, Ukrainians doing this, or maybe it's just journalists putting it in quotes, just a bit of local bravado and irony, Well, because it's unclear whether the operatives actually got the order, to catch all the bosses of the international mafia, and for now, we don't touch the fugitive oligarchs. For now, we leave them alone. There's a Ukrainian migrant over there. He's 29 years old without documents. Let's throw him out. Wait, I'm not surprised. Nothing surprises me with what's happening in Poland. Maybe it was just a joke or hype, and the press exaggerated it. Maybe just for a catchy headline. I've been guilty of that myself. Yeah, clickbait, it's understandable. So anyway, but still, the Ukrainians pulled it off. Next friends, we're keeping up the momentum. We're going to throw in some fakes now. Fakes from Chechnya with a lava sauce. Right-wing radicals are really manipulating people's minds. That's a bit of a spoiler. Since we've started talking about them and their methods, let's take a look at a screenshot. Here we have an official account, an official post from the account, the Confederation of Powad Jaldowski. Let me remind everyone that the Confederation is Poland's main Eurosceptic party, known for using migration issues, especially blaming Ukrainians. Oh, someone broke their leg slipping on the ice. Naturally, it's blamed on the Ukrainians. Who else? So, in this post, they publish a screenshot, a video with a group of teenagers in a park, and they're fighting. This is supposed to be an example of the problems in the city of Malawa. But why? Because of mass uncontrolled migration. Look at what's happening. Illegal fights, brass knuckles or something. We're talking about fights with cold weapons. Well, what else? This is what Poland has come to. Yes, because carrying brass knuckles without a permit is illegal in Poland. Yeah, but just turn it on a bit. And of course, the comments section went wild. What on earth is going on? And we will turn on, some tough critical analysis and expose this cheap manipulation. And do you know why? Because these, how should I put it, these fake spreaders, to put it mildly, aren't shy at all. They take old viral videos from TikTok that were actually filmed in Grozny. In Chechnya, local teens are training, fighting in the streets, and disguising it as something else. Yeah, they say it's migrants, that they've created a ghetto here in Malawa. They absolutely don't care about the facts. The main thing is to throw a scary image into the information space. Look, Ukrainians came here and are having brass knuckle fights. What is this all about? I have a question for Themis in Poland. And is this a clear intention to incite ethnic hatred and spread deliberate lies? There. Or not? Was it just my imagination? And will anyone from this party, will anyone be held accountable for publishing things like this? Will the Central Bureau for Combating Cybercrime look into their accounts? What do you think? These are rhetorical questions. The prosecutor's office is too busy looking for internet commentators who supposedly offended the president's daughter. Are we really handling this too? Did you make this up? What here is actually dividing people? We have important things to do, not your brass knuckles. You just made it up. Yeah, by the way, I'm curious. How do you get a permit to carry brass knuckles? I'm just interested. From a legal point of view, you go to the police and say, I have brass knuckles, can I carry them? What do you need? So friends, we have more. Part 4, we're not done yet. Let's call it historical amnesia. Morawiecki is fighting the ghosts of Volhynia. We see a completely epic example of political hypocrisy in the next screenshot. The former Prime Minister of Poland, Mateusz Morawiecki, who never became legendary, woke up and made a decisive appeal. What do you think he's demanding? Maybe to come up with a decent mortgage for young parents? No, to raise salaries. No, to lower taxes. No, he demands decisive action against people who glorify the UPA on Polish territory or personally use symbols associated with it. In Mr. Morawiecki's opinion, such people should bear strict responsibility, up to immediate deportation from the country if the law allows it. And I think the laws will be adopted soon. To complete this patriotic performance, Mr. Morawiecki solemnly handed over the Ukrainian Order of Prince Yaroslav the Wise, which he was awarded in Kyiv in June 2022, to the museum commemorating the victims of the Volyn massacre. Like, this gesture of mine should remind visitors of the tragedy of our shared history and make them reflect. Yes, we do need to think. I can't help but agree with that. So let's analyze this performance from a logical point of view. Mr. Morawiecki, when you were leading the government and signing laws to support Ukraine, did you really not know which historical figures are on the banners of Ukrainians? Yes. Especially the nationalist battalions. I think you knew. But back then, the political situation required shaking hands and smiling for the camera, because no one knew if Ukraine fell, Russian tanks could end up at the border. It was scary, wasn't it? But now that you're in the opposition, it's very convenient to play the card of defender of national memory. But the main materialistic question lies elsewhere. Mr. Morawiecki, can you tell me who in Poland actually carries the red and black UPA flag? Show me these people. Who organizes mass torchlight processions with portraits of Bandera through the streets of Warsaw, Krakow, Gdansk? Who allows these processions? Can you show me? I'm just curious, like any ordinary person, that's all. But the taxi driver I ride with says no one. Ordinary Ukrainian migrants came to Poland to work, strangely enough, in warehouses as taxi drivers. They don't have time to participate in political rallies. They're trying to survive, to feed their families. And Morawiecki is fighting some kind of ghosts, virtual threats, deliberately fueling anti-Ukrainian hysteria among Polish voters. For what? For the sake of his declining ratings. Friends, what? The picture is extremely pragmatic and free from any illusions. Polish society is rapidly shifting to the right, and the ruling elites are deliberately using the Ukrainian migrant card as a lightning rod for social discontent. While elite shadow catchers are chasing lone illegals for the sake of impressive statistics, all sorts of blue-shirted groups are already legally marching through the streets of Polish cities, trying on the role of, I don't even know, press police or whatever they are. The Confederation is stamping out fakes with impunity, using some random videos to scare people, while former prime ministers are repenting in museums, fighting against UPA flags at Polish gas stations. By the way, I've never seen those myself. So, you see, friends, in times of crisis, the system looks for internal and external enemies to distract working people from their wallets, from taxes and such. Well, that's how it is. I hope you found this political education interesting. Cheers to your health, friends. Subtitles: take care of yourselves and your loved ones. Like, comment, and tell me where you're watching from. It's important. Hello, working class. That's all for now. See you next time.